So Boris Johnson just made his speech about the economy and how he plans to kickstart it. And this is what it means for entrepreneurs, business owners, and property investors. Hey, what's up guys? Dan Javidi here. I hope you're all well. As ever, if you could do me a massive favour and smash the like button and don't forget to hit subscribe. So Boris Johnson has just made his speech about his plans for the recovery of the economy. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what this means for entrepreneurs, business owners, and more importantly, property investors and developers. So Boris Johnson was a little bit vague, but as ever, quite upbeat and enthusiastic about what he was saying and how he was saying it. So you have to step back so you can try and understand what a lot of the pauses and what a lot of the table banging does actually mean for us. Now, one of the big things I took away from this is that regardless of what sector you play in, Boris Johnson is definitely aware that the bureaucracy and the red tape involved in the public sector, in government, whatever market, whatever business, whatever sector you're in, is costing businesses time and money, and it is going to inevitably delay the recovery, and it's going to impact on new businesses growing out of the fire of what is the aftermath of coronavirus lockdown. And he said this like 3 or 4 times. When the questions came from the press, he continued to hit home about the issues with time and bureaucracy and the delays and how he's going to start to put that to an end. And then when he was talked about entrepreneurialism and tax and companies, again, quite a vague answer, but definitely what I took away from it is that he's going to encourage individuals who want to start businesses, people with great ideas, and he wants them to build the businesses on the home soil. He wants them to build big companies, which will in turn build lots of jobs in the UK. But he can't just say that's what he wants people to do and just expect it to happen overnight. He's going to have to work with the Chancellor, and they're going to have to introduce some tax advantages for people and companies to not only start in the UK, but to remain in the UK. They're also going to have to cut through a lot of the red tape within local governments, because a lot of what's said at high level and what happens at low level is quite different. So they're going to have to start to give more powers, take some away, remove a lot of the paperwork and policies, which inevitably just causes huge amounts of delays. And this isn't just in property, this is in businesses and all sorts of things. Now, I was really encouraged by what I was hearing. I think if you are looking to maybe start a business and there is going to be a huge amount of negative thinking about why you shouldn't start it, definitely see what's going to come into play over the next couple of days and couple of weeks from the Chancellor and from the Prime Minister, because I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised that we aren't just going to get hit with huge amounts of taxes, but there's going to be a lot of incentives, a lot of grants, and a lot of things to help individuals and companies spawn off and start new businesses that will create jobs. It's great for anyone who's looking to expand what they've currently got or start something new, because maybe their business before the coronavirus has now struggled and gone. They've found a new opportunity for something to develop in the aftermath, which is absolutely fantastic. What really encouraged me, what got me quite motivated, was that the direction of the speech, the way that it's going to target the recovery is to help those individuals, to help those companies that are wanting to take the risk, to take the step to build something. So businesses, entrepreneurs, I think we're going to see some tax advantages. I think we're going to see things like grants, and we're going to definitely see routes to certain things that will enable us all to take that risk, to take that step, take that leap, and maybe start a new business or grow what you've currently got. But the big thing from me was what was going to happen to the property market, or what was going to happen to investors and developers. Now, I'm really pleased to hear, but I don't think we were ever going to get any detail. But it doesn't sound like the way the government is going to tackle the economy is to come down heavily taxing people and companies. The question was asked a couple of times in different ways, and the answer was kind of very similar. Boris Johnson used words like wealth creators, entrepreneurs, risk takers, people who build businesses, capitalists. You know, those are the words that you want to hear out of a Prime Minister's mouth in a positive light when you're either a business owner, an entrepreneur, or a property investor. It does sound like we are all going to get a bit of a boost. We're not going to be cast aside and heavily taxed just to make it look like the government is paying back a lot of the debt and a lot of the borrowing. But really, the big thing that I took out of that speech and what this video is all about is cutting down the time and the bureaucracy and the red tape. Now, if you are involved in property in some shape or form and you've had to go through the planning system before, you will know that it is an absolute nightmare. And it is so inconsistent depending on which local authority you're dealing with. I'll give you an example. My area, I can deal with 2, maybe 3 different local authorities depending on where I'm buying, all within a 10-mile radius of Norwich. And that does actually dictate to me where I choose to buy a potential planning gain, a potential development, or a conversion. Because if I'm dealing with a certain local authority, they are easy to work with. You have an open conversation. They want to get it turned around as quickly as you do as a developer. And it tends to be a relatively painless exercise to go through the planning application. But when I'm dealing with, and I'm going to name them, when I'm dealing with Norwich City planners, it is an absolute headache. And if anyone wanted an example of where the bureaucracy and the red tape causes developers and causes developments to delay and never go ahead, this is a really good example. I have had countless interactions with these guys, countless developments which have taken years to get through the planning system. And then even when you get the planning approval through, they come back with a vengeance. We've got a project now, we bought it in 2016. It should have been a straightforward planning application. And I'm convinced had it have gone through one of the other local authorities that I deal with, it would have gone through within 8 to 16 weeks, no problem. We are literally 3.5 years on when I purchased that site, and we are still trying to satisfy all of the conditions, because there is dozens of them, and conditions that I can't even get my head around. We're having to engage our architect, who's having to engage various consultants, and it's costing us thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds just to tick these boxes, where I don't think even the planners fully understand the conditions that they've imposed on us to get this site developed. We are well over 1.5 years since we had a planning application approved, and we are still playing catch up, jumping over the hurdles, jumping through the hoops, trying to satisfy these conditions. And it is totally unacceptable. We're talking about a site which is in a beauty spot of Norwich, which has huge amounts of issues with drugs and trouble and antisocial behaviour. We've had like 13 break-ins at the site. It's an absolute nightmare. The residents are all pulling their hair out because they just want to see the site turned and transformed into lovely houses, families living there, and then it becomes a part of the community. At the moment, it is a breeding ground for trouble, disturbances, issues, police costs, and it's all because of the bureaucracy of the red tape of the conditions that they've hit us with after the planning was approved. And it is ridiculous. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time it's happened. It is just absolutely ludicrous. And I hope that Boris Johnson is going to follow this through, and he's going to actually put things in place where we can have a conversation with Norwich City planners and we can say to them, you are being absolutely ridiculous and you need to take a special view on this site. It ticks every single box. You're being totally unreasonable, and what would you rather do? This is why Norwich City Planning have literally dozens of sites spread across the city that have fallen into disrepair, that have sat there empty. They are an eyesore. And then they're wondering why developers won't build them out. I'll tell you why. It's because you make the process, you as a department, so difficult. You take South Norfolk, you take Breckland, they are a completely different animal, and they make the process far easier. And that is why, as a developer, as an investor, I'd much rather buy a site that sits within their local authority, because you just make it completely unviable. But I'm not going to keep paying your fees, and I'm not going to keep playing these games with you that cost me tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds in interest payments and lost revenue because you can't get your department in order to work with developers to get things through. And I hope that when the red tape is cut through and the bureaucracy stops and the new policies hit your desk, you watch this video and you take note and you listen that this is no longer being accepted, not just by me, the little guy, not just by the big developers, but by your boss, the Prime Minister. He's making a change. So that's my rant over. And sorry to name and shame, that's not my style. I never do it. It's not how I build an audience. But I'm sure anyone watching this around the country, you've got similar grievances with local authorities, and it's just not good enough. And that is why the government are going to make a change, because there are so many people saying the same things. So when the change does come, that does mean that hopefully it's going to be an easier ride for investors to invest their own money in and to build homes. And building homes is where we need to be to create jobs and fulfill the housing crisis of not enough houses being built. And it's as simple as that. We're all working to the same goal. We've all got an aligned commercial interest, apart from the planning department, which is a real shame, because there is one or two individuals who I have worked with there. And when I work with those individuals, we definitely have a more aligned, collaborative approach to any project. The problem is you can't pick and choose your planners, and you tend to get the same ones who cause the issues. A little bit of a rant from me, apologies, but I think it's really necessary, and I'm sure you all feel my pain. Overall, a really positive speech from the Prime Minister. I cannot wait to see what the Chancellor's got to say over the next few days, and then what the details of the two speeches will be when they start to emerge over the next few weeks. But that's it from me, guys. Hope you have a great day. Hope you found the content rich, and I'll catch you all on the next video.